and welcome back to my channel. Another video for you, and today I had something else planned to put to show you guys, but I'm actually gonna postpone that because today is my mum's birthday. Happy birthday, Mum! Love you! So I thought I would take you along on my journey of making her a cake. Now my mum's favourite cake is coffee and walnut, so that's what I've done today. So I've done it from beginning to end. And I know my mum, she wouldn't want a big cake, so I've gone with a very little cake, and I have some new packaging that I'm going to try out and see how that works. So fingers crossed it all goes okay. I don't tend to do little cakes, so this is going to be a bit of a challenge for me, but hey, that's what we're here for, to learn and grow. So let's have some fun and make some birthday cake for my mum.
This is a recipe that I've done for my mum quite often, so it's tried and tested. So I'm plopping in the butter. So what I always do when I'm doing my cakes is sometimes the recipes say put everything in together. So your flour, your sugar, your eggs, and your butter all in together and just mix. And I usually find that when I do that, the butter hasn't had enough chance to kind of mix, so I still get left with like a lumpy batter. So what I do is I always mix my butter first, just to kind of make sure that it's smooth, and then I add the sugar, and then after I've added the sugar I add everything else, and it usually comes together quite nicely. It's just, yeah, whenever I've done it all together, because that's what the recipe says, I always just end up with just a very lumpy batter. I'm just mixing the flour in a little bit just so that it doesn't go everywhere, and then I'll add the eggs. Now, I don't know if I do this because I'm stupid or brave, whichever way, but I always seem to crack my eggs above the mixture, and that's just asking for trouble. Really, you should do it in a separate bowl so that if there's any eggshells, you can get them out before. But so far, I've been very lucky. I'm sure my luck will run out eventually, but yeah. So I've added the eggs and then the vanilla, and then I realised that I hadn't added the baking powder, so I'm adding the baking powder now. Should be fine. It was fine. Obviously, I've made it now. And then I'm mixing it just enough just to incorporate it, not over mixing it. And now I'm adding the cooled down coffee. Obviously, all the ingredients are in the description below, so please go check it out. I'm just weighing out the walnuts, and then I'm going to cut them up into nice fine little pieces because this will be going into the batter. My mum loves walnuts, so I make sure that there's plenty in there. So yeah, it's probably much more walnut than anything else actually at this point. And then I'm giving it a good mix, which is a good thing to do because it's just making sure that there's no leftover butter at the bottom, and then dividing it evenly-ish in the tins. So I'm going with, I think I ended up doing a couple more after this, so I end up with 5 layers all in all, just because one of the layers wasn't tall enough, unfortunately, but that's fine. I had time. I think I was doing this until like 4:30 this morning, very last minute. While that's baking, I'm now making the buttercream. It's going to be a coffee buttercream, so it is just the butter, which obviously is soft, and then I'm giving that a bit of a mix around just to kind of get rid of some of that yellow tinge, and then I'll add the icing sugar. You can see here that it's going from yellow to a nice soft pale yellow, and that's what happens when you just beat the butter continuously. Now I'm adding the icing sugar with that dust everywhere, and I'm putting my guard on so that when it's mixing, the dust doesn't continue to go everywhere, because my kitchen is constantly got a film of icing sugar all over it. I don't know why, but making buttercream is like my least favourite thing to do. Like, I love colouring buttercream, I love decorating the cake, I love making the cake, I love stacking the cake, but for some reason making buttercream, I don't know if it's just because it just takes too long for me, I don't know. Anywho, so that's been whirring. I am now going to add the coffee, and I have like this little extra area that I could just lift up and just pour in the flavours, which is perfect for me. Keeps the mess contained. And then I'm going to whirl this a bit more until everything's incorporated and it's nice and smooth and gorgeous coffee buttercream, which is just to die for. So I'm happy with this, just doing a quick check. And then, yeah, that looks perfect. So I've baked these cakes in 6-inch tins, and I know for a fact that this is going to be too big. So I've taken a 6-inch cake board, cut it down to what I think will be the right size, and then now I'm just going to use that to cut the cakes to size, which is a bit time consuming, but I just don't have anything smaller tin wise. I need to get some smaller tins, but the cake tins just take up so much space. It's blooming everywhere. So now we're going to stack the cake up. So you can see here I'm just making a very wonky looking tower, but I actually use my cake level just to make sure that everything is straight. Even though it looks wonky, it must be my camera, because that cake is straight. Thank goodness. And now I'm just going to do a crumb coat, which is super important because it just helps contain, especially because I've cut the edges of the cake off, it's just going to help contain all those crumbs inside the cake, and then I won't have any yucky crumbs. Not that crumbs are yucky, but then it just doesn't make the cake look neat and tidy. Yucky is so not the right word to describe my cakes. So so now I'm adding the final coat. So with the leftover coffee buttercream, I paled it down with some white colouring gel colour, and then I made it a nice pink colour, and I'm doing a vintage style cake. I've never done it before. I've always wanted to do it, so it's not going to be hugely detailed, just because I was running out of time, and also my piping skills are not amazing, but it's all practice, which is perfect, and that's the great thing about baking. It's all about practice. So now I'm just doing these little kind of loops, and then the frill on the top, and all the descriptions on what tips I use will be in the description below, so if you guys want to try and have a go yourself, you can do, but I'm actually quite happy with this. And then I had these little toppers, which I had from a previous order, so it's always good to keep your leftovers because you never know when they're going to come in handy. And I've popped them on top, and then I'm going to use some halo sprinkles, and I went with these gorgeous white and pink pearlescent ones, and I think they were a perfect match. So I'm just sprinkling them on top. And then I decided to add an extra little pearl at the bottom, and this was the final cake. I am so happy with it. It's super cute. It's not over the top, but I love it. And here it is in all its tiny glory. Look how small it is. It's so cute. Okay, I might be in love with little cakes. This might be something that I need to do. I've probably mentioned this before, but I've never done the frills and the vintage type cake before. So this was like a bit of a struggle for me, as you probably could tell. So apologies. I don't get to do a lot of piping work other than on cupcakes, which is obviously very kind of confined. So, but do you know what? I love this so much. I think it's super cute. The sprinkles really helped kind of finish it off. Yeah, I'm obsessed. I think it's super cute. What do you think? It's so good. So I'm gonna pop this down before it falls down. Sorry. Right, it's safe, because I know what I'm like, I will drop it. I have had so much fun making this cake for my mum, and I really hope she likes it. By the time this video would have gone out, she'd have received it, so fingers crossed it all went okay. But if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. It honestly means the world. And if you find that you keep coming back, why not subscribe? It's free, and you can change your mind at a later date. I don't mind. But I really just appreciate all the love and support. It really means the world to me. But yeah, I hope you have a fantastic week, and I will see you again soon. Bye! Here's a little extra of me packing the cake away, ready to transport it to my mum's. Unfortunately, the cake was slightly too big for the packaging. And then here is me realising I didn't take photos before putting it in. I didn't fucking take photos.